Welcome back to Deep State. I'm your host, Nick Hawks. On today's episode, we have Alex and Robin, co-founders over at WingBits. This episode is sponsored by Gold Hawks and Associates, the most experienced DePIN consultancy in the space. We help projects develop strategy, messaging, and token incentives. We'll have a little bit more on them later in the show. Before we get started, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and bell. That helps us bring great guests like Alex and Robin to you guys. Alex and Robin, welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Thanks a lot.
Psyched to have you.
Awesome to be here.
Yeah, I'm pumped on WingBits. So I guess we should start with, we all know what it is, but for the person watching, they may not know. What is WingBits?
So essentially what WingBits is a flight tracking network that's based on blockchain, right? So we allow people to track planes all over the world, collect the ADS-B data that planes send out every half second, and earn rewards by doing so, unlike the traditional networks who doesn't reward anything.
Got it. And I think recently, in the last year or so, there was some news about one of these other networks that had basically been collecting free information from people and selling it, and they sold for something like 20 million. And that might have been the impetus for you guys to look at this and say, I think we can do this better with blockchain and make sure everybody gets a piece of the rewards. Is that right? Or had you guys been doing this way before then?
No, that's actually true. That was the birth of the idea. Because I was listening to a tech podcast where I found out about the news, and I didn't really understand why the community would like the fact that the project that they're working in was sold, because that brings value to the project.
Yeah.
So then I realized that the whole industry is pretty much based on volunteers they're doing all this for free. So then I thought, it's like, this is the ultimate Web3 model in the real world. So that's what kickstarted the whole thing. So that's why we're here now.
Right on. And let's see, Alex, you're on a little more of the technical side, so you're probably doing the hardware stuff. And then Robin, you're a little bit more on the biz dev side. Alex, you want to talk a little bit about the hardware that's involved in this? Are we doing the same kind of Raspberry Pi that everyone's been using so far? Are you guys going to come out with custom hardware? What does that look like?
Yeah, so to start from the basics, the way it works is that aircraft all around the world, they transmit the location every half a second. They've been doing this for many years, but only recently has been regulated. So, for example, in EU, it's been regulated since 2017 and US since 2020. So now you have like a lot more data coming in. The airplanes get the location from GPS satellites, and then they broadcast it to the world. So the only thing you need to do is to kind of capture that location update and then feed it to a feeder. And so that's like how it's been done so far. Mm-hmm. And you aggregate that data, and you need some massive servers to do that. And once you've done that, you kind of get like a real-time update where every single aircraft in the world is. But on the receiver side, you don't actually need very powerful computing. You just need a Raspberry Pi to capture that update and then push it to a server. So most popular is a Raspberry Pi running an antenna and an adapter between the Pi and the antenna. But you don't need to run that. Like, you could use your own computer, or you can use like an old, old 2015 computer laying in the cupboard somewhere. That will work just fine, because we don't do any processing on that machine. You just send it to the server. And we do have plans for a standalone device, because we have members in the community who just want to plug and play. They want to plug it in, forget about it, earn something at the end of the month, then everybody's happy. And we would love that as well, because we want to get as much data as possible.
Yeah, I mean, the folks who are coming in a little bit early, the people who are seeing this, and certainly me and a group of us over in the Gristle King server, it's been super fun to build a thing like, oh, what antenna, what, dongle should we get? What's the, filter, all of that stuff. But I think as this thing gets bigger and bigger, we're probably going to need something off the shelf to just plug in and play.
Exactly.
Robin, on the business side, like, who's buying this information and how much is it worth? What does that look like for you guys?
So, like, if you look at the raw data sales, there's actually a ton of different use cases for it. I mean, we have everything from, credit card companies buying it, to satellite tracking companies, to travel data analytics, to airport operations, airlines. I mean, there's a massive use case for this data. And if you look at, Flight Radar is a Swedish-based company. So I don't know if people know, but in Sweden, everything is very, very public. And they're generating about $30 million in revenue, but the profit margin is super high. Look at Flight Aware, they generate about, almost twice as much. They were sold to Collins Aerospace a couple of years ago. So there is a lot of use case, but the use case will only keep growing as the aviation industry keeps growing. I mean, it's forecasted to be a $6 trillion industry by 2036. All over the world, you look at India, look at Asia, like air travel is really taking off. So, and that combined with the regulation is really going to push the value of this data. And we thought it just makes sense that the people providing all this value to you, building it with you, because the project is really only as strong as its community, it just makes sense to share some of that profit back to benefit all the stakeholders involved.
Got it. And what it's doing, what I've been able to see, and it's been super fun to watch, is you build this thing, you put the antenna on your roof. It's really, for me, reminiscent of the early helium days where you got this thing up and all of a sudden this kind of world opens up. Is you can see flights going by when my mom is visiting us, and when she came in, I could go on the screen and say like, oh yeah, there's Southwest, 142 coming in from wherever it was, Phoenix. There it is on the approach pattern, because they fly right over my house. Like, that part is really, really cool. I'm trying to figure out why someone, I just want to make sure I understand this really well, is why would someone buy that information if it's being provided free by other networks? Or is there something specific that WingBits is doing that is an added value that other networks aren't doing?
Well, so, the data is essentially provided to like the B2C customer. Like, let's say you look at Flight Radar, you can track the plane, right?
Yep.
But the use case is really more of a B2B play, where you have all these companies utilizing this data to enhance the travel experience in various ways. For example, if you're an inexperienced traveler and you're booking a long flight across the world and you have 2 or 3 layovers, how do you know how long of a layover you need? Because really the only way they base it now, for example, is how long does it take to walk from one end of the airport to the other end?
Yep.
They don't take into consideration what's the average delay at this airport, what's the average performance of this airline, and all this stuff at specific times of day. Like, that's the information that we can contribute with the data we collect to really monitor that to enhance your experience as a traveler. So both the data itself has a value, historic and live, but then, our plan is to utilize the live and historic data to build these various solutions on top of that actually add a lot of value to both the aviation industry, but also the end user, the traveler, essentially.
Got it. That'd be super nice to just do a double check when I'm booking flights. I mean, even here in the States, it's like, man, that seems like a tight connection. That'd be nice to see, like, all right, average connection is this time, average delay is that. I can see that being useful. And I can see, Delta or whoever buying that information and displaying that. It might not be me on the Delta app. Maybe it would be.
Cool. And I mean, when we went through the accelerator that we did here in Stockholm, I mean, what we spent these months doing was really validating these use cases, collecting LOIs and commitments from anything from logistics to airport operations to crew planners to satellite tracking companies. Like, this is what we spend our time on to really validate the use case, because, I mean, at the end of the day, we're aiming to build a long-term sustainable project that like benefits both the early users, but we don't want it to benefit an early user for 6 months. We want it to benefit the early user for years. And we think we have a really good model to actually achieve that.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be sustainable if it's going to stick around as a project. That's just by definition how it goes. All right. Let's take a quick break to talk about today's sponsor, Gold, Associates. We're a DePIN consultant firm helping projects with strategy, messaging, and token incentives. We run a blog at goldandhawks.com. We produce this show and, most importantly, work with the core teams and communities of your favorite projects in the space to ensure tokenomics and incentives are fully aligned to build out some of the most badass physical infrastructure networks in the world. If your project needs help in any of these, check out goldandhawks.com. Guys, we've talked about this before. I think at some point we'll get to work together. I'm really excited about that if that happens. But let's now kind of shift focus to what's coming up in the next 6 months and maybe in the next month or so. I know you guys are collecting questions for an AMA right now over on your Discord. So that's coming down. And then you're growing the team. On the technical side, Alex, what does that look like as far as who's coming on and how are they helping you?
Yeah, so I mean, so far it's been only me coding on a full-time basis. It can only take you as far for my healthcare as well, and also for like the output that I can get out. But we had a full-time developer joining this week, 2 part-time joining next week. We have We're going to have like some interns joining as well. The way it looks like for the next 6 months is we want to take it up to 2 teams of development. We want one team to focus solely on the community experience. We want to enhance the community experience. We want dashboards. We want updates. We want we want it to be super premium for whoever joins to have all the information they need.
Yep.
But we also want, we are already ingesting a lot of data. So right now we are ingesting, I think it was 700 million events every single day. That puts a lot of strain on our infrastructure. So we need a backend team as well.
Yeah.
And we want to back up all the, we want to sell this data pretty much right away. So we want to clean it up. We want to wrap it in a good API so we can start selling, so we can give Robin some work to do as well.
Yep.
So that's on the technical side. And as we promised to our community, we are going to work a lot on the Web2 portion of the project, which means testnet, rewards, integration with Peak, which we announced not so long ago.
Yep.
Identifying your antenna as a machine ID with the machine ID on the Peak network. So, which would not only give you access to the network itself, would actually make it really easy for you to participate in the other projects that are on the network. So it opens up the use case for your hardware, not only for the WingBits, but also for all the other projects that are on the Peak network, which we think they're super valuable.
Yeah. I could see some of the cool kind of pieces coming together, whether it's with 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐸𝐸, is this airport, quiet or more loud when something comes over or not. So that part's interesting. Let's finish up. I think something that you guys had said in a conversation we had a few weeks ago, might have been, well, it is last year because now we're on January 4th, was that when you were talking to investors, a lot of what you were doing was explaining Web3 to them, and they were getting super excited about it. So it's neat to see new projects like you guys come in and basically bring in some investors with you that are like, okay, let's check out this crazy DePIN thing. Robin, can you talk a little bit about some of those conversations and maybe the exciting pieces of what it's like to be a kind of working with older school investors in this really new space?
Yeah, I mean, it's been actually very exciting. And the amount of outreach we've received from traditional VCs in the beginning, even though we were Web3, was quite staggering. And I think it's mainly because it's actually finally a really easy use case to explain to an investor that they can see there's real world value. We can generate revenue in the Web2 world. And to implement this as crowdsourcing data and reward people on a global scale, it's just like a perfect use case for the Web3 space, right? So it's easy to explain. They kind of understand it fairly quickly, and they can also see the longevity in the project. And if you look at Antler, who was our investor from the accelerator, out of over 1,000 investments, there's only 0.3% that have any Web3 portion in it. And the fact that we got the investment early, it's just it's a cool stamp of approval. And what we're hoping to do is really finally show the world, essentially, we and all the other cool DePIN projects, that crypto is not all scam. There's a lot of value in the technology, and you can create a long-term sustainable project. And I really think that's what's going to happen with the DePIN space, is that it's going to turn the page a little bit and finally show that, hey, that there can be real viable large companies created that doesn't just benefit the company, it actually benefits the community that helps build a company as well. So that's been exciting. So we've gotten, and obviously we have a lot of interest from the investors from the Web3 space as well, because they all know DePIN is good use case, pretty bullish for 2024, excited for the year, So it's we've been having to fight them off a little bit, but it's been a good problem.
That's good. Yeah, it's always good when you got high quality problems like that versus the other way. Fellas, thanks so much for making the time and coming off. For people who want to go and find out more, it's going to be, wingbits.com. And then on your Discord is where the action is.
Highly recommend people to, if they want to see how the project is. We have, I've been blown away by the community we have, just the collaboration and the friendliness and just the excitement in our Discord community. So I think that's the best way to get a good insight into how our project actually works and how it is being involved. So that will be my first recommendation, to join our Discord.
Right on. We'll get them over there. Guys, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.